Every year, thousands of people turn their hands to learn the age-old craft of jewellery making. But what is a jeweller? Who are the people who make the creative, sparkly things we have come to know and love? Where do they make it? How do they make it? What do their workshops look like? And what led them down that specific path? In this short series, come on a journey of discovery with me to meet the jewellers who are creating and selling their work, building their own small but wonderful businesses, and learning all different aspects of this incredible craft. Let's meet the Handmade Jewellers.
Welcome, my name's Jessica Rose. I'm a jeweller, teacher and the founder of Jewellers Academy, where we teach everyone to learn to make jewellery. Today I'm going to be spending the day with jeweller Anna Sweet. Anna lives here in Margate in the UK with her partner Will and her little dog Pearl. Anna's jewellery business is called This Story Jewellery. Her key focus is creating mini wearable pieces of art that tell a story. She makes her work in wax and it is cast into precious metals using the lost wax casting technique. Today we'll hear about Anna's unique journey into jewellery making. Plus we'll get creative with some making too. And of course we'll get to see around her home jewellery workshop, complete with all the tools. I'm excited, so let's go and meet Anna. Lovely to see you, Anna. Thank you for having me in your home.
Thank you so much for coming, Jess.
So I want to learn more about you and your journey. So let's start at the beginning. When did you learn to make jewellery and what led you to start your own jewellery business?
I started to make jewellery about 7 years ago and I didn't think about it. It wasn't something that was sort of on my radar. It's a bit of a random story. I basically walked into a charity shop one day and found this book that was basically a series of questionnaires to get you to think about what your inner passion was. So after I'd finished this book, I sort of had this brainwave that I needed to make jewellery. And I guess looking back, I always loved jewellery as a child and I've always been a bit of a magpie. But after this book, I sort of just decided that I wanted to make jewellery. So I bought some tools, watched YouTube and started to make.
Wonderful. And did you start, because you do wax work now, don't you?
Yeah.
You work in wax and then it's made into precious metals. Is that where you started or did you do some other experimentation first?
No, I didn't start with wax. I basically taught myself sort of silversmithing. So I soldered rings and I learned how to set stones in bezels, and I just sort of picked up the basics. So my jewellery was very different 7 years ago. I used to use a lot of big stones, and then I was actually living in Australia at the time, and when I moved home to the UK I actually took a wax carving course at the London Jewellery School and absolutely fell in love with the process.
Yeah, I think wax is one of those things that people fall in love with sometimes. We often say there's the silversmiths and then the wax carvers, and yeah, it's such a beautiful medium to work with, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I just hate soldering. I hate it. I'm so bad at it. I've got no patience for it. So when I found wax carving, I mean, I do still solder and I resize rings, but when I found wax carving, it just felt like that was the best process for me. And I just really loved seeing it come to life as well.
Absolutely. And so your jewellery business, This Story Jewellery, it's all about telling stories through your jewellery making. So tell us a bit about why that was important for you to focus on the story side of your work.
I think I sort of lost my love for jewellery a little bit when I was sort of growing up in my teens and early 20s, because I was never really attracted to anything that didn't sort of resonate or hold a story. So when I started to make jewellery, that's when I realised that I wanted to make jewellery that actually held meaning. So when I first started out, I would make signet rings that had like engravings on them and illustrations, and a lot of my work when I first started was very sort of commission based. And now all of my collections, I make sure that there's sort of a story behind it, or that it holds meaning or can represent something to someone.
Absolutely. And have you got any examples of pieces that you've made for anyone that has a story, just to give us a bit more of an idea?
Yeah, so I've actually got my Celine ring, which is my moon ring. And I guess the story behind Celine was I actually made her one winter's night when I was going through a bit of upheaval, and she just sort of, I sort of sat at my bench to sort of take my mind off things, and she just came from that. And since then, like, Celine has become like a really calming piece, and her face represents serenity and peace. And I sort of realised when I started wearing her that she's very calming when you rub her face as well. She's something that came from, I guess, my story and something that happened to me. And I put her into the world, and everyone seems to resonate with her too, which is really lovely. And I think that's where the stories for my collections come from. They sort of come from what I'm going through or how I'm feeling, and I kind of just hope that someone else feels the same.
Yeah, and I think they do, because you've been very popular on Instagram and your business has been very successful. How has your jewellery evolved over the years with different collections and, keeping this story theme? Because it's been quite an evolution, hasn't it?
It definitely has. For any jeweller, any artist, it's really hard to find your style. And I think that is an evolution, as in itself anyway. So, there have been moments where I'm like, oh, I haven't got my style, or I don't really know what I'm doing. I always just make sure that I link back to the storytelling, and again, making jewellery that I feel will resonate with people. And I kind of just do that from, I guess, things that have gone on in my life, or, being on social media, like you build a community, and sort of listening and looking at what other people are going through, or what resonates with them as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's great that you're honest as well about, like, it's not always easy to be an artist, a creative, and run a business. Have you had any struggles in the journey of your business, and what kind of things did you do to overcome them?
I've definitely had a lot of struggles. It takes a lot of confidence, I think, sometimes, and it's very easy to look at where you're not and what you're not doing than, I guess, the present moment and how far you've come. I have taken quite a few breaks. I think running a business, so being creative and running a business and doing the social media and doing it all, can really take it out of you. So I've learned to give myself breaks, which was very hard at the beginning, but also so important. And I find that when I do take a break, I just get creative again, because sometimes it can be lost in the process of running a business.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's wonderful you're able to do that for yourself. I think you're right, a lot of creatives, there's a pressure. We feel like we have to make and then sell, and then make and then sell. And what's really nice about the way you run your business is you sell at certain periods, but then you have rest periods as well.
Yeah.
And then you give yourself time to create. And what about the financial side of things? So I guess a lot of people, when they're starting out, was there like fear that you might not make enough? Because you came from a different job, didn't you, where you were quite successful in what you were doing, had a stable job, and then to leave that and start a jewellery business. I imagine a lot of people can relate to kind of any sort of fears around that, and what your journey's been like financially.
Yeah, I did have a very good job when I was in Australia, and I sort of hit the top of my career of where I wanted to be. So when I left and we came to the UK, I was very adamant, and I don't even know if this was the right thing to do, and maybe I would have changed it looking back, but I was very adamant that I didn't want to fall back into that, because I knew that if I did, I wouldn't focus on jewellery making. So I actually took up a part-time dog walking business. It was very hard financially, but I just kept focusing on the end goal, and the end goal at that time was to become a full-time jeweller. So I just took on any part-time job that could help to subsidise my jewellery making, and then I just really focused on my business. Yeah.
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
So tell me a little bit more about your jewellery. So you start in wax, and we're going to do some making together in a little bit. And what's the process creatively? Do you draw first? Tell us a bit about your process.
It's definitely changed over time. So before, I would just sort of sit at my bench and start making, and whatever came from it I would sort of work on for a few weeks, and then I would then send it off to be cast into precious metal and sort of go from there. But now I definitely plan my collections a bit more. I recently took a break in the summer and drew up all of the things I wanted to make first, and then made them. I make everything in wax first, and then I'll send it off for casting. I'll see how it comes back, and if I don't like it, I'll start again, or I'll tweak bits. But it is very trial and error, and yeah, I do tend to grab inspiration first, draw it up so I don't forget it, and then I'll make it.
Yeah, absolutely. And as your business has grown, you've obviously got more and more orders, and you've been super busy, which is just amazing to see that success. But are there any areas of your business you've been able to outsource or get help with? Because obviously, you know, there comes a point where you can't do it all, you can't fit all the hours in the day. Are there any things that you've gotten help with?
Yeah, absolutely. I have all of my polishing outsourced now because it just was taking me too long. I sometimes get some stones set from a stone setter as well. Stone setting is a whole different sort of career anyway, but mainly polishing I will always outsource now. Because it just does take too much time and I just can't do it all.
And we met because you are one of the winners of Jewel Fund, which is an annual competition that we run for makers to help them grow their businesses with grants. So how did that affect your business, and how did it help with your growth?
I think it affected me in so many different ways. One, it really built my confidence because it just made me feel like I had gotten to the place that I really wanted to get to. And I think I said to you that I really loved filling in the application because it really made me look back at how far I've come with my business. And I actually spent the grant on a photo shoot and a bit of branding, which I'd wanted to do for such a long time. And even that in itself was an amazing experience.
Yeah, it was lovely to see the pictures. And that was a collaboration, wasn't it, as well, with the photo shoot and having models and various things, which was really nice to bring the brand alive a bit more.
Yeah, I think I had always taken photos on my phone and I just knew that I wanted to elevate it a bit more. So I used some of my friends who are in the creative industry to help, hired a photographer, had a studio, had a model. So it felt really lovely to feel, I guess, like professional and to have different people help with that as well. Because when you are on your own and you have to make all the decisions, sometimes you can get a bit tunnel visioned.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to do some making together.
Yes, I can't wait.
Yes, I'm excited. So should we head into the workshop?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is where I make all of my wax pieces.
Oh yeah.
So I have two different benches. This is where I tend to be more creative. So these are all my wax pieces here. I use different waxes. So you've got like a harder wax, and then we've got like the softer wax, like the sheet wax, which is quite good for pendants. And then I have the wax wire as well.
Oh, nice. What do you use that for? Is that making jump rings and things?
Yeah, so jump rings. Sometimes you can make it for smaller rings as well, which is really nice. And this is what I use for like the bigger, chunkier pieces. So this is more for like the signet rings. And it comes in a tube like this, and then you cut it down into size.
Lovely.
And then I have my ring sizer on here. So if I need to make it like 1 or 2 sizes bigger or smaller, and my tumbler.
Oh, nice, nice. And a nice little house plant as well.
I mean, you have to have things that make you feel good, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's dying a little bit. So.
Needs some water. And what about the bench?
So this is my jeweler's bench, which I do loads of my work from. So I sort of, when I'm making wax there, I'll sort of move between the two. I tend to make more pendants there, and then I'll make the rings here. So you can see I've got like so much wax dust. I never clean it out because I like to use scraps and things. And the wax dust is quite good to get my pen and to stick things with it.
Yeah, the heat pen.
Yes. Which is somewhere. I think it's in here.
Oh, I think it's here.
Oh, yeah.
The Max Wax.
Yeah, my best friend.
Yeah.
And then I have as well like my sort of silversmithing tools on here. So I have all my files in there and just things that I sort of need on hand.
Like saw frames and
yeah.
all those bits and pieces. What's that bright orange thing?
This is beeswax
Oh,
for
nice.
my saw blade.
Lovely.
And then
you have some nice carving tools.
Yes, these are probably one of my favourite tools actually. I really love how you can really sort of sculpt different things with it. They are an investment, but probably one of the best things I've ever bought for wax carving.
Wonderful.
And then you can't not have a pendant motor when you're a jeweller. Yeah, this is probably one of my most used tools as well.
I like all your postcards as well.
Thank you. So these are all pieces made from artists that I know. This is actually my branding that's made by the same artist as this postcard here. But yeah, I like to keep art and things around just to keep me inspired.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you. And then I have my shelving unit, which is a bit wobbly, but it sort of holds everything else I need. So I have like my packaging and stuff in here. I have all of my soldering equipment, and I just sort of try and keep it as nice as possible because it's quite a small space. So I like to keep it quite organised if I can.
Yeah, you've done really well with the space to have all of
you.
the making and the organisation.
Yeah, I feel like I've tried to use every corner of this room because it, like I said, it is quite small. So I've sort of tried to keep it as tidy and as workable as possible.
Yeah, and it shows how you can run a business and make jewellery from, not a huge space.
Definitely, definitely.
Wonderful. And what do we have over here?
So this I've tried to keep a bit nice. So I've just got some things that inspire me. All of my jewellery making books. So
I recognise this one.
Of course. And then just some books that I've sort of picked up from charity shops that I find really handy, just for inspiration. Then my pickle pot. And I also reuse all of my packaging. So I just keep hold of all of these that I get all of my castings in because they're really good to keep jewellery in as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And last but not least...
Yeah, so this is where I do my packing or my admin. I also do a lot of design in here.
These are lovely.
Thank you. Yeah, so some of them don't always make the cut, but I like to draw them down so I don't forget, and then I can always stay inspired. And yeah, also have some of my pieces here as well that I keep out, and my own collection in there too.
Wonderful. Well, it's a beautiful workshop, and I see there's some gemstones behind you.
Yes, my favourite print.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, shall we get going and do some making?
Definitely.
So, Anna, what are we going to be making today?
Well, before we get started, I just wanted to give you a little gift.
Oh, wow.
I made this for you from wax.
Oh, thank you.
This is called the Love Me pendant.
Oh, wow, it's gorgeous.
And I think it's one of my favourite pieces from the collection, actually. But it's a little self-love token.
Oh, beautiful. Love me.
Yeah.
And it's in gold, my favourite.
Yes.
Oh, it's gorgeous. I am definitely going to be wearing that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Alrighty, so what are we going to be having a go at with the wax today?
Well, I thought we could do a zodiac pendant because these are from my new collection, and because you're a Pisces, I picked the Pisces pendant, which is a little fish.
Love that.
And it's quite simple to make. So we make it using this red wax here. So it's really mouldable, very easy to sort of create and sculpt with.
Wonderful. I've never used that before, so it should be fun.
It's going to be really fun. You're going to enjoy it. It's
All
like
right.
Play-Doh.
Great. So how do we get started?
Well, first of all, I'll give you a little pendant so that you've got something to go by. So what I normally do is I just break a bit of wax off first. So it's really easy to sort of break off.
Oh, nice.
And this one, this one you don't need to get too warm. Some of them are a bit firmer. So just get sort of a small piece and sort of roll it up and get it soft in your hands. It is a bit like Play-Doh,
It
so
is,
it's quite
isn't it?
easy.
So
yeah.
kind of ball it to make it.
Yeah, just get it as warm as you can because it just becomes easier. And also you can keep taking bits off if you want to sort of make it smaller, but we will flatten it out.
Okay.
You can also roll it a little bit on here.
I don't have the warmest hands.
No, I don't either. It might take a while.
It's getting there though, it's getting there.
But basically what you want to do is you want to start to create the body of the fish. So just keep taking bits off as you need.
It's almost like oval, isn't it?
Yeah.
The fish body.
Yeah.
I think mine might look quite creative.
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure I'm going to get mine quite similar to that one either now. I think that was a fluke.
And when you're making, do you kind of have a picture of what you're going to make? Because obviously we've got these in front of us, but how do you tend to...
I'll always have a bit of inspiration in front of me. So I'll sort of have a drawing that I'll work from. And I think for this one as well, I sort of had like a few pictures of fishes up just so I could see sort of like the movement. And as well, I just wanted to make sure that I got the shape right. I think that was the biggest part of this, was sort of working on the shape of the fish, because there's so many different shapes. So I knew that I wanted the body to be quite long and thin.
Nice. And do we need to get the tail in the same...
No, so I think just work on the body for this.
Just the body. Okay.
Yeah, and you
Makes it
can
a bit
really sort
easier.
of flatten it out on this as well. And you can also, because it sticks quite nicely, you can sort of sculpt it.
Yeah.
Whilst it's stuck.
It's probably easy with wax to have too much, isn't it? Because you forget when it goes into metal, it's going to be...
That is, yeah, that's quite a thing that you have to think about really with this. And especially this sort of wax, because it is very easy to make it quite thick. That's good.
It's coming there, it's coming. Yeah, and so how do you think that jewellery making has kind of changed your life? You know, just the process of being creative and having a creative job.
Yeah, I think it's changed my life in so many different ways. Like obviously there are, you know, it can be quite anxiety inducing sometimes running your own business, and like with anything, like there are obviously hard days and good days, but being able to be creative and sort of create my own schedule as well has just been really like great for, I guess, my mental health. And as well, I just really have built such a lovely community around me, which has just been probably the best part of, I guess, owning a business, is just being around other creatives and making connections. So it's definitely changed my life for the better.
Oh, that's brilliant. So what do you reckon?
It's looking good. It's looking good. You might want to sort of start to get the head and the end of the tail a bit as well.
Okay, a bit more pointy.
Yeah, so I sort of make the head a bit pointy.
Got a bit of a round fish. A bit of a chubby fish.
But that's the best thing about working with wax, is it just sort of comes from you. So it kind of is quite nice.
Each piece is unique.
Unique, exactly. And then for the little mouth, I actually just used my thumbnail and sort of created a bit of a mouth.
Nice.
And it's really nice when it does it, because it sort of creates this sort of bottom lip.
Oh yeah, I see.
I feel like this fish is going to be better than the one I've created.
That's awesome.
How are you getting on with yours?
Good,
It's
I think.
good.
So far, so good.
The more you work with it and the warmer your hands are, the easier it is. And then once you've sort of got the body, we can start working on the tail. So you could do it two ways. You could use this and sort of cut it and then sort of open it up. Or you can sort of you could sort of roll up two pieces and put two pieces on and then sort of mould it into the rest of the body.
Nice.
I think I might try this.
Yeah.
I don't actually remember what I did last time. I think I was just in
the zone.
In the zone, being creative.
I do like this wax. It's a
It's
different
fun,
way of
isn't
working.
it? Yeah.
I'm going to give it a go as well with the tail.
I think what's nice about it is it's very easy to start again. So if you sort of mess up, you can sort of re-roll it and start again, which is quite nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you know when you've finished a piece? Do you ever like struggle?
I think
to make that decision?
there's definitely a fine line between doing too much to something. I think I just sort of...
The perfectionism.
Yeah, I sort of realise, I sort of get to a point where I'm like, okay, if I keep going, I'm going to ruin it. Actually, Jess, I think I'm going to stick on the tail because that doesn't...
It's not doing it.
It's not doing it.
Yeah,
It just
mine's
makes it a bit short and stumpy, doesn't it? Yeah, there's definitely been times where I've made something and I've been really happy with it, and then I thought, oh, I'll just tweak this, or you can actually heat up wax to get it really smooth, and there's been times where I've made it and it's been perfect, and then I've got a torch on it and just
Destroyed
melted it. Yeah. But it is very fun. It feels like you're sort of creating with Play-Doh and kind of feel like a kid again.
You do, yeah. It's very mindful as well, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
When you get in the zone.
Definitely. And then you can kind of keep going. So once you've got the tail, you can put fins on if you like. And then also I sort of created the face and the gill by using this as well.
Oh, nice.
If you're struggling to sort of mould it together, you can actually use the wax pen. So basically just warm it up. So it's a hot pen, so you have to just be careful with your fingers. Get some wax on the end of it. And then you can just dab it where you need it.
Oh, brilliant. So it kind of helps connect it together.
Yeah, it's almost a bit like glue, so it sort of connects each part.
Wonderful. I'll give it a go.
Yeah, have a go. Yeah. And the battery does run out quite quickly, but you'll see it sort of like melts on the tip, and then you can sort of blob it on. I normally, once I've finished a piece, will go over it with the wax pen just to make sure that it's all joined and that it all sort of like fits together. Because sometimes if it's sort of not attached properly, it won't go through casting that well.
Yeah. It could come apart. Or...
Yeah, exactly. How's it looking?
It
looks good.
It looks like a fish.
It looks like a goldfish in orange, doesn't it?
It does look like a goldfish.
Mine's looking a little bit like a shark.
All right, I'm going to have a go at doing the face.
Do it.
I like the way that you create detail in your pieces. It's quite almost minimalistic.
Yeah, I think I went through a phase where I thought that I wanted to create more detail on my pieces, and then I sort of realised that actually I do like quite simple designs, and sometimes less is more. You don't have to put that much detail on. And also with wax, you can add detail in another way. So I also offer gemstones in this.
Oh, lovely.
So I think that's the best thing about sort of working with wax is once it's actually cast into silver, you can engrave or you can get stone set or, add that way.
Absolutely, yeah. And like you said, sometimes less is just more.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you still get the emotion across in the piece.
Thank you.
With the fine lines, I think.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember when I created this, I sort of worked with it and then, I remember putting my thumb in and thinking, oh wow, that's actually created like the perfect fish mouth.
Yeah, perfect shape.
And it is just all trial and error. Sometimes I'm really lucky. Sometimes I'll create something for straight away and it'll be perfect. And then other times I have to start a few times on it or...
Oh, I love it. I've done wax before, but I've never used this moulding, and it's just very satisfying.
Yeah, it is. You could spend hours, couldn't you, doing this? So I've just turned the pendant round because I've sort of stuck on the fins. I'm just making sure that they join at the back.
That's important, isn't it?
Yeah. And the nice thing about this wax pen is it actually smooths things out and you can actually add a bit of detail to it as well. Sometimes if I'm feeling confident, I'll just run it over a candle very gently, or I'll lay it down on a heat-proof mat and just get my blowtorch and just very quickly go over it, because it will instantly smooth the wax out.
Yes.
That's the one thing about using wax, is if you've left a mark in it, it will really show up when it's in silver or gold. So I try and get it as perfect as I can before I send it off, and then obviously when it comes back in silver, you can also sort of clean it up and add to it as well.
Yeah, and I feel like with these, with your style, there is a bit of texture to it.
Yeah.
Which is really nice as well. So it kind of lends itself to this material.
Definitely. And I think that's sort of, you know, the nice thing when you use this wax and you're creating something like a fish, because a fish has got scales and it has got like a, you know, textured skin. So I use the scriber quite a lot, but I also have these wolf tools, which are quite good. So you've got ones like this that's sort of rounded, that's quite good sort of to smooth it out.
Nice.
And also they're really good for sort of using to carve in between spaces, and there's lots of different sort of ones you can use. I use a lot of these when I'm actually making rings, because they're very precise, so you can actually really get into detail with them as well.
Lovely. Give it a go.
Feel free to use them.
Love a new tool.
I think these are my favourite tools.
Did you get them right away when you started doing wax carving, or did you?
I didn't. I saved for them. I knew that I wanted them, so they were on my wish list for a very long time. But that's the nice thing about wax carving, is you don't actually need these tools. You can. I think I started off with a scriber, and actually dentist tools are very good. That I think I just got off Amazon, like a dentist kit.
Yeah.
It's funny, when I go to the dentist now, I'm like recognise a lot of the tools that they use. But yeah, you can kind of use anything that adds texture or anything sharp.
Brilliant. So once these masterpiece of fish are ready, what happens next in the process?
So once it's ready and you're completely happy with it, like I said, it has to be really sort of like, if you want a smooth effect, it has to be like, you have to get that sort of effect before you send it off. But I use a casting company in London, who then I send off all my pieces, and they then cast it into recycled sterling silver for me. So that whole process is done with my caster, and then I get it back, and most of the time I do get it polished, but if I didn't, it'd come back in sort of a raw form of silver, and then I would just polish it and clean it up, and then it's done.
Thank you so much for showing me how to do that. That was great fun.
Oh, you're welcome. It was really fun.
So we are busy bees, because we're going to head now to a shop in the Old Town in Margate to see some of your friends.
Yeah, let's do it.
So Anna, community and friendship is obviously really important to you and your business. How have you built a community around your business?
I feel really lucky, because I live in a really creative community as it is, but I think a lot of the people that I've met and a lot of my friends have been from Instagram. It's just been such a great place to meet other small business owners and other jewellers, and it's just been about getting out and about and meeting people, and I guess socialising and going to events.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you first started on Instagram, did you instantly have a community there, or was it something that took some time to build, and how did you kind of get to make friends on that platform?
It definitely took some time to build. I think I just really went with the intention of making a community before anything else. So I just spent a lot of time talking to people and connecting with people. I just knew that that was a big part of building a business. So that was what I did. And from it, I've made some amazing friends and also connected with some really amazing customers as well.
Yeah, love that. So you live in this vibrant community, which is awesome. Where do you get your inspiration from as a jeweller? Is that from the community and from your friendship groups, or are there other places or other jewellers that you like to look at? How do you get inspired?
I'm definitely inspired by a lot of my friends. Everyone's really creative and it's really inspiring to be around people that do what they love every single day. Everything that I'm making at the moment is inspired from something that felt magical when I was a child, or that I feel like would feel magical to someone else.
I love that, because you have like your mood rings, don't you? Can you tell us a bit about those? Because that's from childhood. We all had a mood ring, didn't we?
Yes, so I was obsessed with mood rings growing up, and I really did think that it was like a wizard controlling the ring. So I decided to make like an adult version, because they would always break, or they'd always be, you know, made of not very good material. So I decided to really invest some time into finding some good stones and creating a ring that could be worn as an adult that sort of reminded you of how you felt when you were a child. Yeah.
And are there any jewellers that inspire you?
There are so many jewellers that inspire me. I think at the moment, one of the jewellers that inspires me the most is Susanna King. She's really, like, her jewellery is really amazing. I love how she uses social media as well, and her use of stones and colour is just incredible.
Brilliant. And final question, what 3 tools would you take with you to a desert island?
That is such a hard question. I think probably I would take my wax pen, I would take a block of wax and maybe a file so that I could make some wax carvings.
Yeah, it's amazing with wax, isn't it? How little you actually need to be able to create.
Yeah, I've definitely taken it on holiday before to create, because that's when I get most inspired, when I've actually taken time off work.
Love that. Yeah. Okay, second final question.
Okay.
What advice would you give to anyone starting out in their jewellery making or jewellery business journey, from everything that you've learned in this incredible business you've built, this creative community that you have, and you're really an inspiration to so many other jewellers? What one piece of advice would you give them?
I think to keep going. It sounds really cliche to say that, but I think I just had real tunnel vision that I wanted to get to where I am today. And you always have goals and you always work towards goals, but I think just to not get bogged down in the day-to-day and just keep focused on what you want to achieve.
Love that. Lead with the vision.
Yes.
Brilliant. So looking to the future, you've already achieved so much. What's next for you? What would you like to see next in your business, in your making, in your life?
I think a dream, because I have a visual merchandising background, would be to one day maybe have a shop, but have it as a studio so I could teach and work from there as well. I've started to do ring carving workshops and I really love teaching. I've always really loved teaching. So I think to pass on my skills more and to help other jewellers.
Love that, love that. And we're in one of your friend's shops right now, aren't we?
Yes.
Which is really nice to show how, you know, someone has set up a shop, and perhaps that's something that you might do as well in future. And it's nice to have other people around you who've got that experience.
Absolutely. I think it goes back to being around people that inspire you, for sure.
Thank you so much for having me with you for this day and for sharing the journey with us. It's been wonderful to see your space and learn a bit more about you.
Thank you, Jess. It's been so amazing to have you today.